Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube art tutorial channel. I'm a professional artist working from my studio in Essex in the UK and painting plein air in the countryside. Well, it's a very pleasant morning here in North Yorkshire, and as always I'm up fairly early trying to find a subject really. And this is a lovely cottage for a few days, and really I'm trying to incorporate that into into part of the landscape, so I'm not actually painting solely that particular cottage, but it's very pleasant here. So I'm out with my sketch. Nothing on there yet, but hopefully very shortly I'll have some drawing down ready to put colour on. Well, this view seems to take into account almost everything that I wanted. The cottage where we're staying, the lovely bed and breakfast building there, and of course a little bit of the left-hand buildings as it actually goes away. So overall, really is a perfect subject for me. So I'm going to get the drawing down onto my watercolour paper. Well, the drawing is now down onto watercolour paper, so we're all raring to go with laying some colour on. It's a lovely subject. Looking forward to this one. Well, as you're probably aware, rain is not exactly the watercolourist's best friend, and we have a rain coming down. So I do have a brolly. Can you see just the brolly there, which I'm holding in one hand? And it's going to clear, I know, but and in the meantime, in the other hand, I'm going to try and paint a picture. Anyway, the cottage on the left is my accommodation, and the cottage in the background running across is the Burnley house. It's a B&B, so apparently, but I'm going to first attempt to put a sky in, and if you hear anything clatter, it's because my mixing palette has gone haywire, which is quite often what happens when you're doing this sort of thing. But anyway, let's put a weak blue on. I'm going straight in with the paint to start with. I haven't damped the paper. To be fair, the paper is well, it's not damp, but the paper could very well be damp enough, really, for what. Put a touch in there, a touch in there, bring that round. There we go. And basically, I'm just laying a rough sky on, and with this rain, it's not going to dry very quickly, which really is to my advantage today. So there we are. That is Windsor blue. Now I'm going to clean the brush. I want the sun coming from the left. So what I'm doing, I'm putting in some yellow with some red to try and create an orangey tone. And I'm resting the palette at a rather precarious position, really. But there you go. That's floating around. There you go. Anyway, just bring in a bit of warmth. There we go. Bring in a little bit more yellow. That's terrific. That's perfect. There you go. That denotes that we've got a bit of light coming from the left. And now I can pull that in to that blue while it's still damp. And although these chimneys are dark, I'm going to paint around them at this stage. Maybe that alters as I paint, but to be quite honest, that is giving me the desired effect. And can you see the way I've got the film of light coming from the right hand side? I've got a bit of depth here, and there is a tree there, a lilac. There we go. So it does all get rather interesting when it's raining, when you're trying to paint. Right, now the tree in the centre there, I want wet into wet. So I'm using cobalt blue for that. It's an old willow, but cobalt blue with a little raw sienna, cadmium yellow, that sort of colour. And I want that to blur up into the sky. There you go. See the way it disappears up into the sky because the sky is still damp. And that will give me a lovely blurred, it's a willow, so it's overhanging a little bit like that, overhanging a little bit like that. Now imagine a bit more yellow, because I can see a bit more yellow in that, particularly to the left hand side, because that will help give it a bit of depth. And that's going to finish there, painting around the chimney. Because I've got no real depth to this, the depth is going to be in that centre of the tree, just there. So that's, you can probably hear the rain belting on top of the, put some blue in there, cobalt blue again, belting on top of the brolly, which is not the best way to start a painting, but there you go. That is what we're lumbered with, and as a plein-air artist, that is what you have to deal with. So there's that tree, and we've got a lovely old lilac there that I'm going to just show, just showing a little bit of the outside of that lilac, like that, just leaving one or two touches of white ready to be greened off at a later date. Now the building in the centre there is a mix of raw sienna and burnt umber, and that's more or less the colour of the stone we have here, but we've got white window frames, so I'm going to have to pick around the windows as I paint, but that's quite a nice colour. We have a lovely blossom there, and that's why I'm leaving little patches of white, which is what we need to do really to achieve the feeling of leafing. I don't know of the blossom that will come once that dries. There we go, that's the actual door, so let's pull that. Well, there you go. Didn't really want that, but never mind, we've got it. And now I'm just picking around the windows really, trying to achieve that strength. And these lovely old buildings have lots of character, and they do present their own problems. And of course, when you start to talk about rain to a watercolourist, it's laid on as a swear word really, because rain is not what a watercolourist really needs. But at the moment I'm surviving. It's coming down nicely, I think you can hear it. But anyway, that's the first washes of colour onto that building, leaving one or two little touches of white. I like that idea. The only good thing about rain, well, not really, because I don't mind people, but it does keep people in for a moment or two. It gives me a chance to put down some colour before the crowds start arriving again, which is okay, don't mind. So that's more or less that colour in for the main build. That's that lovely stone colour. Now while that's drying, I'm going to put in a swathe of this yellow grass. We do have a picket fence there, and that's a yellowy bush, so I may go around that. But this picket fence is actually darker, in the foreground that runs along there. So that's to my advantage really, because I can paint. I'll pop the grass right the way down to that. There is something going on behind there, but at this stage I'm just going to put the grass in. And there's a bush there, grass down there, and that more or less finishes like that. Okay, brilliant, lovely bit of greenery there. Just adding a touch more blue to that, just to darken it off a touch. Give it a bit more green basically. And a bit more darker green now for the distance where that building is. And there's a bridge there. So that goes across like that, with a tad more yellow just catching here and there. That's it. And then a bit more of this green. Luckily I've not lost my paints at this stage, which is a bit of a bonus really, because it wasn't looking good earlier on. Put a bit of that darker green into that, then that marries up. Then there's an entrance there for a path, there we go, then that marries up very nicely with this foreground, and then the fence sits on that, so that should work. And we're going to have the same there. Now that is white fence and posts, but beyond that is the grass that leads down to the back, and that's the bridge where the back Hutton back actually goes through. Yeah, we're getting the basics in. Now the colour of these tiles, all pan tiles in these villages, they're at varying stages of ageing, but I've used, for this particular painting, I've used the cadmium red with, tell you in a second, with burnt umber. There we go. Got a bit of perspective in with that, so that's probably all to the good. But let's just put that wash on. They do have these lovely ends, not dissimilar to the shape of the buildings or the roofing that you see in Norfolk really. Here we are. And just to give that bit more authenticity regarding the I've touched in more burnt umber in places, just so as that, just before it dries, so hopefully we'll pick up the feeling of those at the angle, and of course of those little areas of tiling. And I'm just running across the bottom edge with a bit more solid colour. So that's that one. Now the chimneys I'm going to put in this burnt umber colour. Still using the large brush, that is not ideal, I know, but for me it just has to work really. Just bringing that down at that sort of angle, which is always a good thing to do, and across like that. They do point, these brushes, which really are an ideal brush to use, I think. There we go. And notice how it's bled in. Happy with that, not a problem. Don't have a problem with that. Now I'm adding more burnt umber to that mix and a little cobalt blue, because The chimney on this one, we may as well do the chimney on this one while we're about it, is considerably darker in colour. Just watching that, but that's the way it is, and it's got quite a bit of perspective there too. Shadows will, as you always know with me, come later on in the painting process. So there you go. Chimneys can go in later, the chimney pots I mean. Right, now this building is more of a grey stone. It's a little different. So I'm putting I'm putting cobalt blue with the red and the brown, and that gives me a nice looking sort of grey stone. It's a warm grey and it's quite light too. There you go. That's more of a cool grey, I know, but that's the grey that I can see. And there's lots of varying shapes, but there is a lintel, so the lintel will have to go in at a slightly different angle, if that's there we go. A slightly different colour, sorry, not angle. Thinking about angles, you see, and I'm speaking angles. Yeah, funny enough, it's a grey, but I'm not, you know, it's a nice grey, and it's the cottage that I'm staying in, that I'm painting right now. I always like to do one of the build that I'm staying in. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint that through like that, pull that down like that, have a bit of fun with this one, because I can see little touches of blue in there. Shall I? Well, that's what I've done anyway. Whether I should have done or not, I don't know. But that's hopefully to give an impression of the blue-grey stone that's there. And the frontage is a little bit lighter, although the actual colour, the light will be shown up by the shadow I put on. It's all very frantic here this afternoon, and if I'm not making sense, then you'll have to excuse me, because brolly in one hand, mic and camera laying there at a funny angle, and it's all very much an awkward sort of way of working. And there's a tree there, lilac again, as I said, and of course the front of that is, and of course the side as well, that will be in a touch of shadow, the frontage and touch over the top, but down there, and then there's cream there for the windows, so that's fine. While I have this colour, I'm adding a touch more yellow to it, because I want to put in that different stone there and there for those ends. Very similar to the Norfolk buildings, really. Okay, let's deal with a bit more. Oh, and while we have this colour, let's put in the path, because that is the path that is going to lead the eye into the painting. Just need to put a bit of red into that, because as you know, I always bring red into my work as I paint. Afternoon.
Hiya.
Which is something that I think everyone should do, really, into their foregrounds. Helps bring that foreground forward. Lovely. So that's that stage. Now I'm frantically trying to keep the paper dry, because all of you watercolorists out there will know that if I don't, I'm in a lot of danger of losing the complete image of this painting, really. Anyway, there's an apple blossom tree there and a lilac there, so I'm trying to paint around them rather than using masking fluid. I think you probably know by now I prefer to paint around my subjects that are being obscured, just to leave a hint that there's the hedge, comes there like that, comes up to there, one or two little patches of white. You see, it's not an exact science when you leave things like this, and it can doesn't always look quite right until the end. And then I would say even at the end sometimes it doesn't look right, but there you go. I'm adding a little bit of yellow to that for the outside edge and just along the top, just because the light is catching that. There's just a little bit of yellowing hedging. It's not too uniform. It's hanging about down the edge there. There we go, look at that. And that's that hedge that sits right in front of us. And to show it stands upright, I'm using some vertical brush strokes here, just to give a sense that it is standing up rather than just laying across the paper. There you go, and that will all blend. A little bit of yellow gone in, that's good. Now the rain's still coming down, but I'm bashing on. I'll put this grey slate in, and that grey slate is cobalt blue with burnt umber. Just a touch of red in there, but very little. But it's a lovely grey slate, that. I like painting grey slates, just a shame it doesn't have that that feeling of with the red tiled capping. I could put a red tile cap on, but I don't think that's in keeping really with what it actually is. Now these lintels are just raw sienna, well, any yellow really. One there, lovely old lintels over these doors and windows. We do have them over here really, but at this sort of distance I don't think we'll be worrying too much. No, we'll leave those. So that's so let's just put a bit of brown with that. Looks a bit too clean. That's better. That's not quite so. That's more like it. Now let's do the windows. Are lots of little glazed areas, but I'm going to try and get over that by just painting down like that, leaving plenty of white paving. Now that one is open, so I'm going to paint that across like that, and another one there, just pulling down. There we go, and that's all I'm going to do to depict those windows, because I don't want to fiddle around with just put a bit more red with this one. Don't know why, but got some creamy windows there, but just put a bit more red with that, just to ring the changes. Not drying very well, but can you wonder at it? Bearing in mind we've got so damp today. Right, letterbox and knocker there, that's fine. Don't know whether we'll see that letterbox in that door there. And while I have this dark colour, I'm going to put in the support for the sign, Burley House, or Burnley House I think it's called, and it's got a lovely lamp there. Now some cream. Oh, and there's just one thing that I've just forgotten, and that's the grey tile for that. So I've quickly picked up a bit of that from my palette. There we go, that's fine for that one. And right, the stonework, right, yellow's going in with burnt umber to pick up that lovely brown stone that we see in these lovely old stone bridges that are so, I mean, it's loads of them around here, and it slopes like that, and it slopes like, oh, that's a capping on there, that's interesting. And of course we've got the soldier stones that stand around there, and then we've got that stands like that. So hopefully that just gives an impression of that. Here we are. And then on the top, there's quite a grey area of stonework that caps that complete area there like that. It's really the shadow that will show up quite well there. Now, is it dry enough, do we think, for the blossom, which is almost white, got a little bit of pinkiness to it. So I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. Lovely old, that'll pick up a bit of that brown as well, which is quite interesting. So there you go, little bits of white, little bits of brown, I think that'll work. Shadow coming in, and then greens for the lilac. There we go. Same old greens that we've had before really. And that's on here. Very little budding, but there is a little bit of budding there. That's why I've left some white, because that will help show that up. So I'm not covering every single part of that, just a little bit of blossom, that is, not budding but blossom really, on that tree there. Be careful we don't overdo this, because that could get a little bit fussy if we do. And although it doesn't come down to there, I'm going to bring it right the way down. And then we've got a trunk to go in. There we go. That's good. A bit more yellow now for this particular shrub there. It's going to, excuse me, going to be quite light, so I've thinned that yellow out. Yeah, another little shrub, and this one's quite sort of green really, quite a strong green, and that's going to go in fairly quickly like that. Got a feeling people think I'm mad standing here with a brolly up trying to paint a picture. And I would say trying is more the appropriate word than actually achieving a lot, I think, but never mind. Let's bash on. Now the windows here, now these, I will pick up the glazed sections, or at least a feel of the glazed sections, because they are somewhat nearer. And that's the theory behind it. I did do the drawing for the glazing, but never really thought that I'd put in every single pane. And oh, we've got a, oh, that's a double door there. Oh well, door. Let's put a knocker on there, shall we? There we go. Good. Now I'm going to stick with this very dark sort of theme. We'll be using ultramarine now with burnt umber, sticking with this dark theme because I want to try and pick up the dark colour of the, that's it, there you go, that's the colour of the surround of the gable end, and that's, whoops, just be a bit careful with this. I want it to be loose, but not that loose. There you go. It's quite a wide area actually, so I'm not over elaborating on this. It is quite a wide area, and then we've got that one up there, and this one back down to there. There's quite a feature of this build I'm staying in, that lovely gable end, or both those gable ends really. Yes. Now the cream, brown and yellow, that's my cream. Burnt umber, a little bit of yellow in there, but very weak burnt umber with a bit of yellow in. Very, very light indeed for its painted area for the windows there. So they're just light creamed really. And a bit over the door. The door is a dark green. Right, okay. It's a funny green, that door. So what sort of door, sort of green can you pick up from that? Oh, perhaps that's that one. Oh, there you go. We'll paint it in anyway. Yeah, that's about the green for the door. Yeah, the rest are white. Now, a lot of people say to me, how do you handle picket fencing? Well, with extreme bold brush strokes really. The main thing with fencing is that you make them closer as you get away into the distance, and smaller and smaller and smaller. Then you can then put your cross section in like that, and I'm putting another one in at the bottom like that. There you go. Couldn't be much simpler than that. And then I'm putting in burnt umber for the sort of like a border where it sits really. Bit of greenery, but it's just got to sit into that. That's why I wasn't too concerned where at the base of that. A little bit there as well. And to me, that is good enough for a picket fence. I'm not going to worry much more than that. Just going to do the arch under the bridge. It's quite dark. Quite a nice bit of arc to that. Do you know it's still raining? Isn't that amazing? Do you know? Just when you want to get away from it, you can't. Oh well. There you go. And then I'm putting in a little dark red and blue colours to create an added depth in the top of that. There you go. See the way we can now see under the bridge, if you look closely, the actual colour of the shadow under the bridge. Tell you what, speaking of shadows, well, shadows, we've got the sun coming from the right, okay, but it's at quite an acute angle. It's probably early morning actually. We're not too concerned with that because we've got quite an acute area of shadow that's running under there like that and right to the end, and that finishes there. See the way that throws that into sunlight. And down the right hand side of the windows at the top, because that's where shadows would occur, and that one you'll have to show above the top because I've not gone very high with that, but the others go up into that. And then of course across the top, down the right hand side of that window, and the window reveal, the door reveal, like that. And of course we'll get there for the window above. Across the top, down the right, there's another window there, or a door, that's a door. Across the top and down the right, just a little bit seen there. Oh, and we have a sill. I can just use the point of this brush just to show up a sill area. I think that's always a nice thing to do, to show up sills. They help cement yeah. Anyway, what am I babbling on about? Right, now, chimney, left-hand sides of the chimneys, under the overhang of the brickwork at the top, and running a fair way up the roof, like that. Go, left-hand side, just under there, a little bit under there as well, a little bit down there, but you can see it running up that side. And you can't really see a great of this because that's in sunlight pretty much all round, so we'll leave that at that. There is also, this stands up, so there's a shadow running like that, yeah, and we've got shadows underneath there, and a shadow underneath there. It's all very, very interesting, this, isn't it? That's alright, that's looking good. Right, while we still have this colour, this building is standing a little bit adjacent. So, what I'm going to elect to do is to paint this, let's just paint a very deep shadow, like that, cutting across there like that, and a very deep shadow like that. Let's see how that looks. In actual fact, do you know, I'm going to now weaken that and spread that right down, right the way over that, because that's the way I want to depict this in shadow. There you go, look at that. And I think that gives us a real sense of sunlight on that building, or it will do. And then we can cut back in, leave a jagged edge for that bush. A little bit of light here and there, like that, but mainly right the way down, like that. There we go, look at that. Pretty much happy with that, really. Yeah. Oh, and of course, once we've done that, we'll then need shadows here. For the chimneys, back edges, back edge of that, and the overhang of that, down that back edge there like that, and down onto the roof. Okay? Now, has it stopped? I'm not chancing it. It's making out it's stopped, but I don't believe it. Across the top, down the right, across the top, down the right, and of course underneath the sill at the base. There we go. Well, we do have overhang shadow there, and of course there will be overhang shadows too. So that's interesting. Comes back at that angle. I'll put the gutter in shortly. Right, what else have we got with this shadow business? Oh, under there and into the reveal, like that. Now this will be in shadow, which will also help. Just a little bit there like that, there you go. We're not being too fussed with anything really. And then it casts a shadow across the wall. Not vastly, but it would do. Across the top there, and then into the door and down the right hand side, like that. Then we're then going to have shadow on a lot of this old lilac. We will give it a blue tint, or won't we? Perhaps we won't really. And that overhangs then there like that. Okay, and of course it's also some shadow here, but this doesn't want to be too much of a shadow. Little touches of shadow there and there and there, like that. Just get rid of one or two bits of. There you go. Going to elaborate on that shortly. Good. Well, that's coming along. Now we do need a lot of shadow down in this bottom corner. Now this must not go onto too much of the fence at this stage, because I don't want that to be in shadow at this stage. There we go. But then as we go up, it dots about, because it's on the overhang of whatever greenery we have in standing up there. Lots of dogs around, as there normally is in these areas. People love bringing their dogs to these sorts of areas. There you go. And I'm just having one or two little touches like that, but that's basically all we need to do to that. Also in shadow will be, I'm going to darken this hedge again, because that will need to be darkened. Not along the top or the front, but just down the edge there, and on the overhang of some of these little bits and pieces there. It's all shadow. And then a little bit of shadow then on the shrub there that stands up, a little bit there, but that's pretty much by the by really. Brilliant. The next thing we need to do is a little bit of shadow for these posts, a little bit down the back edge there and a little bit down the slope. So it's back edge and slope, back edge and slope, back edge and slope, and I just keep repeating myself, but you know what I mean. And then of course the joining section. Don't know whether that really makes sense, but probably does in reality. But anyway, right. Then of course we have the posts that actually cast shadow then running like that. Perhaps that justifies them, does it? Well, hopefully. Got to join up, of course. There we are. I think it does. Yeah. And then of course we have shadow underneath here where those posts sit, and I'm going to give a little bit of shadow down the back edges of some of these posts. In fact, a lot of them. Just simply treated. Look at that. Rustic old fence for a lovely village location. Look at that. Good. Now we're going in with some finishing touches. We have the gutter. It's very dark paint, this. I'll tell you the mix in a second. The mix for that is Windsor Blue and Indian Red. Just a hint of that here as well for the gutter. It will be too wide, this, and notice how I'm not putting it all in, I'm just leaving some gaps here and there, and then there's the downpipe that I'm going to break into sections of touch. That's it. What else have we got? Oh, we've got a downpipe here, so, and that's got an S-bend, and that slides down like that, down that corner. That's good. Oh, and there's, we won't see that one. Good. Now we've got the capping there, and I'm just going to show a little bit of unevenness under those tiles there, and just on that edge there, because that's where we need that. Well, that was all very nice, speaking to someone there who lives in the village. And finally, as I normally do, I'm going to sweep a foreground shadow over the foreground basically, and I always like doing this, so it's going to come across there, sweep it across that, and completely over that area there. And that is from, not sure what, but it's a shadow that will help light up the building. Pull that across there, just over there like that. Put a bit of shadow into there, and see how that lights up that foreground area. And that really completes the picture, apart from birds in the sky. We've got the sky there that's crying out for some birds of some sort, and don't know what sort of birds they have around here, but doesn't really matter really. We have birds everywhere, don't we? So anyway, dark blue, bit of brown, and not too dark. And I'm going to have one there like that, one there like that. Just a nice little cluster, because I just feel that really will enhance the complete picture. And that is about it. I'm going to take it back to the cottage, which is obviously right next to us, and I'm going to take the surround away and sign it up. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching me paint this lovely view of the cottage where I'm staying, that one there, and Burley B&B, which is that one there. That is a separate cottage, not sure of the name of that one, but I hope you've enjoyed watching me. Just going to take that back and sign it up back into the cottage. If you have enjoyed that, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you for watching.